growth in their income. All of that has to come out of productivity. It has to be something gleaned out of a productivity contract. Somebody has to do like work for somebody, and that you somehow have to glean your percentage off that work. But work is the only thing that has value. So that's the source of all value we give to the wealthy. So every wealthy person is holding in their possession, you know, tens of thousands of hours of human initiative, sweat, and effort. And that's what they're spending. So when they buy their Maserati, that's what it represents. When they waste their money, you know, when they're so lavish and gluttonous, and they have some big party for one day, you know, for $2 million and blah blah blah, that represents, you know, the squandering of tens of thousands of hours of human labor that they gleaned a profit off of.
They also fund and form the foundational principle behind the Republican Party that conservatives will protect you from the government taking all your money, as if that's the biggest thing to worry about, is that the government's going to take money from poor people who don't have any money in the first place. And that really creates a lot of poisonous bullshit as well.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Obama is going to do the same thing. I mean, Obama's a big fraud. He's not going to tax the rich, and that's where this is. Like I said, this is going to get really ugly, because he obviously, if he was going to do it, he would already do it. He would have got to it in his first fucking year in office. There's no way he'd wait 3 years before he starts increasing taxes on the rich. He wouldn't wait till an election season to start doing it. He would have got to the business right away. And that's, you know, he's just another one of them. He's another millionaire who's going to protect millionaires.
Yeah, I
He
agree with you
hasn't
there.
taxed
10 years
anybody.
to
Who
vote
the
on that
fuck
one,
has
because
Obama
taxing the rich
taxed?
is something that
He hasn't taxed
they would have a hard
anybody. Who the
time
fuck has Obama taxed?
not doing.
Obama's created a
I mean, if they
huge,
ever opened
giant
that can of worms,
deficit.
they wouldn't be able to close it. People would just demand it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there's lag. Um, yeah, well, you know, like I said, it's the legacy thing that's the really biggest problem. If we just stopped the grotesque inheritance of huge fortunes, that would fix the whole game. Because then that money would go back to productive workers, it would go back to government spending, and so instead of paying taxes to finance government spending, that inheritance money would be paying it. So it'd be going back into the economy, back to employing people, instead of being kept and people gleaning interest on it. I mean, the whole idea of interest. I mean, that I always thought that interest was a response to the fact that there was inflation, and so you had to pay people interest. But interest is what causes inflation. People should have never got used to the idea that surplus should grow. There's no entitlement that your ownership of surplus should entitle you to an income. And it was that idea that I should get rich just holding money. That's the fallacy. That creates the obligation for there to be huge inflation to pay that bill back. We have to keep paying that interest, and that interest is deadly. There's not a fucking inheritance tax, okay?
That's true.
Bush
I find it
abolished it,
interesting
and
that
even when there was an
some
inheritance tax,
Muslims
it was minute.
won't
You got the first $4
work with
million tax
interest.
fucking free. All right, and after that, you still didn't pay really high percentages until it was a huge amount of money. Sorry, commenting to the commenter. It's not being cut back.
Yeah,
The
inheritance
fucking
is one of the
goddamn
biggest
Bush tax cuts
scams
are going to
going.
expire,
I
so
was
it's not
saying,
being cut
I've heard that
back.
some Muslims don't do interest.
Sorry, it's your lag is a problem. Go ahead.
Oh, I just thought it interesting that some Muslims don't deal with interest, or at least they think it's against their religion. Which I think I'd be curious to see what an economy without interest would work like, or at least if there were certainly could be limits on it. Um, 1% maybe, just to make it worthwhile for somebody to loan money to somebody, but not to make a living out of it.